Good afternoon. Let's see, when is the SAP reset date?
July the 18th.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Judge Morrow.
Good afternoon. I hope everything's well this afternoon.
Yes, thank you. It's good to see you.
You also. Let's see, where are we going to start today?
Yeah, we're going to start here in courtroom 2. It's going to be with position number 6, Castiano.
Okay. And let's see, do we have the solicitors on?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video to help prevent the spread of the virus. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004134J with failure to signal a lane change, return, possession of an open alcohol container, and possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Who do we have on for? Oh, there you go, Ms. Jackson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge. The defendant does not have any prior arrests on file. The defendant appeared to meet the criteria for a UJR through the jail. Nothing in addition.
Thank you. Mr. Eggers, good afternoon.
Yes, hello, Your Honor. The state brought several charges for an incident that occurred 2 days ago, July 1st. It was at the corner of Northside Drive and Deering Street in Atlanta. There was initial stop for a failure to signal at an intersection. And then upon the stop at incident to arrest, the officer found marijuana both in the center console and the back seat, and also an open bottle of Hennessy in the defendant's jacket. This is the first arrest. The state is asking for a $1,000 surety bond on all 3 counts, and alcohol weapons and no alcohol weapons and drugs provision.
Okay, it's going to be a $250 signature bond through the jail on each charge, which amounts to a $750 signature bond through the jail. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you, Ms. Wills? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, it does. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, good luck to you, ma'am.
Position 20, Turner. They also have a visitor in the gallery.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Miss Kim is not in yet. I'm texting with her now to try to see what's going on, but can we handle my cases?
I saw that she's in the waiting room. Can someone see if Miss Kim is in the waiting room and let her in, please?
She's not in no waiting room. She's not on the right link.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
texting to figure out what's going on.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
Position 9, driver.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Driver. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're doing by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Driver, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004137A with simple assault family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Your Honor, the defendant does have 15 cycles. The last arrest was January the 26th, 2022 in Fulton County for driving without a valid license and driving while license suspended or revoked. There was no disposition for that arrest, and there were no convictions listed in the GCIC, Your Honor. Nothing in addition.
Mr. Eggers?
Yes, Your Honor. The state brought a charge of simple assault family violence. This occurred again 2 days ago. The location was on the front porch of a address 1342 Hill Street, Southeast Atlanta. The victim is a Mr. Lloyd Caldwell. They've been a couple for 13 years. She struck the victim in the head, leaving a laceration. she has had a number of arrests. The state is asking for a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, stay away from that location, that incident location, an anger management course. And at this time, we would like to sound for the victim if he's on the line, Mr. Caldwell.
Is that Mr. Caldwell that's in the galley? Or someone else? Are you with me, Francois?
I'm sorry, I stepped away.
Is that Mr. Caldwell that's in the galley back there?
No, that's not him.
Okay, thank you. If Mr. Boyd Caldwell is on the line, now is your opportunity to address the court if you choose to. Doesn't appear so, Mr. Eggers. Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Judge. My client is 39 years old. She is currently employed at Waffle House. She actually has a shift tonight that she is eager to work. She does not work full time, so she will qualify to be represented by the Public Defender's Office. She does have a high school diploma. She has an 11-year-old child. She states that Mr. Caldwell is her friend and that she was just living there as a roommate. However, she is willing to move out. She wants to move out and does not wish to have any further contact with Mr. Caldwell. She would like to have a one-time law enforcement escort for her to gather any property that she has there. And I'm requesting a signature on bond. As it was stated, she has no prior convictions and she's willing to move out immediately. I also would object to the anger management course at this time.
It's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Mr. Caldwell, and stay away from the 1342 Hill Street address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that she might have there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Ms. Driver, I'm going to give you a signature bond and let you sign your own way out. But you're going to have to make sure to show up for any additional hearings. Okay. All right. Good luck, Ms. Driver.
Thank you. Position 10, Dubose.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bose. I'm Judge Eric Moyer. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Bose, you've been charged with one misdemeanor in count 23 CR 004138C with one misdemeanor offense. Also, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, disorderly conduct, possession and use of drug-related objects, and simple battery. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant has 36 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was April the 18th, 2023 in Franklin County, Georgia, theft by deception. She does appear to be on probation in Franklin County, but theft by deception. That disposition date was May the 4th, 2023, and the term is for 5 years. Also, she appears to have an outstanding hold out of Carnesville, Georgia, for a probation violation. The date on that warrant was May the 19th, 2023. She does have prior felony convictions. It's one in 2008 for theft by taking, an additional one in 2008 for possession of controlled substance, and one in 2001 for fraud. And she does have misdemeanor convictions. So one in 2022 out of DeKalb County for theft by shoplifting, one in 2017 for disorderly conduct, an additional one in 2017 out of Hateville, Georgia for driving while license suspended or revoked, one in 2012 out of Cobb County for theft by shoplifting, and one in 2008 out of Stevens County for simple battery and giving false information to an officer, and disorderly conduct and obstruction of an officer. And she does appear to have a history of failure to appears, one in 2022, one in 2021, and one in 2019. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Eggers?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The state has brought a number of charges based on an incident that occurred 2 days ago, July 1st. It occurred at 898 Virginia Avenue. The victim is Miss Shaquila Stone. The defendant did grab her in the vaginal area and the buttocks area, and also pushed her in the face. And then when officers arrived, she was asked to step outside of the premises. She refused. She started yelling, refused to identify herself, and tried to leave while handcuffed by pushing and pulling away and making comments that she wasn't going anywhere or doing anything. So that for those reasons, based on her history, the state is asking for okay. Well, the state is requesting that the set bonds remain the same: 5,000 surety for the sexual battery, 600 surety for the obstruction, 1,000 surety for the disorderly conduct. And also, I failed to mention that a crack pipe was found in her purse, a crack pipe. So $600 surety on the drug use object and $1,000 surety on the simple battery. And if Ms. Stone, the victim, is on the line, we would sound her at this time.
Ms. Shaquila Stone is on the line. Your opportunity to speak, address the court if you choose to. Doesn't appear so, Mr. Eggers. Ms. Wells?
Thank you. My client is 50 years old. She has resided in the state of Georgia for the past few years. She is currently unemployed and will qualify to receive our services. She states that when she was taken into custody and detained, she suffered a broken arm. She does deny the allegations as alleged and states that she's lifting up her arm to show that she currently does have a cast. She denies the allegations and states that the alleged victim was upset because Ms. Dubose was talking with, I guess, her partner who was there with the alleged victim. I would ask for a signature bond for my client to be released to the holding county. I believe I heard that there were 2 holds, one for Carnesville and one for Franklin, but Carnesville is in Franklin County. So I believe, and what's on her booking sheet is just the 1 hold for Franklin. And my client did indicate that it's for a violation of probation. If Your Honor is not so inclined to grant a signature bond to release her to the holding county, I would request that her bond be reduced. There is no way that she can afford an $8,200 bond at this time.
Okay, for the first count, the battery, $1,000 good bond, the obstruction, a $500 good bond, the disorderly, a $500 good bond, the possession of drug-related objects, a $500 good bond, the simple battery, $1,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $3,500 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Stone. Stay away from the Virginia Avenue address. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Dubose.
Is Ms. Kim back with us or not yet?
Yes.
Oh, okay, very good. Yes, she is. Afternoon, Ms. Kim.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry about that. Oops.
Position 20, Ms. Turner.
Good afternoon, Ms. Turner. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Turner, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004123J with simple battery and battery family violence. Is there a history? Ms. Jackson?
He has 1 prior cycle. The last arrest was September the 28th, 2018 in Fulton County for theft by shoplifting. She appeared to have received pretrial diversion, and that case was dismissed on June the 14th, 2019. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Stafford.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday at 3060 Fair Court Northwest, Atlanta, in apartment 115. Officers responded to the location for a domestic dispute call. Upon arrival, they were flagged down by the first victim, Mr. Calvin Waters. He stated that he and the defendant were in a physical dispute. She asked for his cell phone, and when he refused, she became upset and tried to grab it from him. She also pulled his shirt and scratched his face in the process. The officers were able to observe the physical scratches on the left side of his face. Officer spoke to victim number 2, Mr. Alvin Waters, and he stated that his brother Calvin Waters called him and asked him for help due to the physical dispute with the defendant. He advised that when he arrived, he saw the injuries and proceeded to record him with his cell phone. And the defendant got upset and tried to grab the phone from him and swung at him in an attempt to punch him. Our office was able to speak to Mr. Calvin Waters. He stated that this was the first time that this had happened, but he did confirm the events of the warrant. He also stated that his brother does not want to have anything to do with the case and is not looking to press charges. He also stated that he would be present today, so at an appropriate time, we ask that you sound for him. Our office is currently asking for a $3,000 surety bond for the battery, $1,500 for the simple battery, $4,500 total. Due to the fact that this just happened yesterday and there hasn't been much time for either party to cool off, we're asking for no further contact with both victims, a stay away from the incident location, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons.
If Mr. Calvin or Mr. Alvin Waters is on the line this afternoon and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I don't believe they're with us, Ms. Stafford. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Turner is 23 years old. She was born in Nevada. However, she has been here in Georgia for almost all her life, 22 years. Right now, she's a senior at Georgia State University. She is studying computer information science, and she is about to get her bachelor's degree. She's also working as a hairstylist. She's working independently at the salon. Your Honor, we would like to request for signature on bond, considering the fact that her previous charge was dismissed and there was no prior violence offense whatsoever. So we would like to request for signature on bond. My client has no objection to stay away or no further contact, even though she prefers to have a contact, no further violent contact, believing that Mr. Calvin and Alvin do not want to press charge against her. However, if the worst comes, she does not object. We would like to request for a signature on bond. Thank you.
Excuse me, Judge Morrow.
Yes.
A visitor did want to speak.
Okay, and who, you can bring them forward.
That's not your visitor? Yes, do I move? Yeah, I want you
Yes.
to stand right here for me.
Hold on. Yes. Good evening, Judge.
Yes, sir. Let's see, if you will raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Thank you, sir. State your full name for the record, please.
Calvin Waters.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Waters. What would you like to tell the court?
On my behalf, I don't see any need to even consider this even further, press any charges on the, I think it's a count of domestic. Is that correct?
There is one count. Yes, sir.
Okay. We can totally, if it's possible, just take that off the books. I leave that up to y'all. And also too, we're married, so I did speak to, I don't know if I spoke to earlier in saying that to still be a resident in the house with no physical contact. I think they gave me 3 options, if that was the last option again.
Okay, so you're telling me that you would like her to come home, is that correct?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, and are you afraid of her?
No.
Okay, and has this happened, has this ever happened before?
No, sir.
Okay, anything further, Mr. Waters?
That will be it. She can do a signature bond and then we can take it from there.
All right, very good. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Mr.
All right,
Waters. You're welcome. Okay, for the simple battery, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. For the battery family violence, it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. Makes up a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Calvin or Alvin Waters, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Turner.
Position 23, Varner.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Varner. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Varner. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004129G with operating without lights as required by law, driving while your license was suspended or revoked, and giving false information to law enforcement. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, the defendant has 13 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was May the 5th, 2022 in Douglasville, Georgia, for driving while license suspended or revoked. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does appear to have a couple of holes, one out of Douglas County for a probation violation. The date on that warrant was September the 8th, 2022. And there was one out of Gainesville, Georgia for a probation violation. The date on that warrant was June the 20th, 2022. It does have a misdemeanor conviction and a sentence. He received a nolo contendory sentence in 2019 out of Clayton County for giving false information to an officer. And there was one in 2011 out of Douglasville, Georgia for driving while license suspended or revoked. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Walker.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. How are you?
Good. I hope you are well as well.
Thank you. In this case, the defendant was pulled over for driving without his lights on. Upon making contact with the defendant, it was determined that he did not have a valid license. The defendant did provide the false name of Joshua McElroy. At that time, his true identity was determined. He was taken into custody for the previously listed charges. He currently has a $600 surety bond for the driving without lights, a $2,000 surety bond for driving without suspended license. Additionally, he has a $1,000 surety bond for giving the false name. Based upon the defendant's history, he has multiple driving with suspended license convictions and open cases. I believe he also has a conviction for giving false name and multiple probation holds. Based upon that and the factual basis of this case, we're asking that the bond remain as sit with the conditions of no driving without a valid license, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
I'm going to release him to those holes, Ms. Kemp, for the lights offense, a $250 signature bond through the jail. For the suspended license, a $250 signature bond through the jail. False information, a $500 signature bond through the jail. Makes for a total of $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Of course, no driving without a valid license, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you, Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Very good.
Good luck. Thank you. Good luck to you, Mr. Varner.
Sure.
Position 11, Easel.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Zell. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004139F with simple assault, domestic violence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
The defendant does not have any prior arrests on file, Your Honor. Nothing in addition.
Mr. Eggers?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The state has a current charge of simple assault, domestic violence. The date was yesterday. The location was 3580 Leisure Lane, South Fulton. I don't know that there's a warrant in Odyssey, just a citation. There was some kind of altercation. And this, the state is asking for $1,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, I don't know the victim's name, stay away from the address and an anger management course, as well as a no alcohol, weapons, or drugs.
Mr. Eggers?
And if the victim is on the line, we would like to sound for that person.
Who would that be?
Name.
All right, I'm gonna let y'all sort that out at a later time. Ms. Wills, it's gonna be $1,000 signature bond through the jail. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you?
It does. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, if you don't have a victim's name there, Mr. Eggers, I think you all are gonna have a tough time proving your case. Who do we have next?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's 12 and 13 Jones.
The victim's name.
Good afternoon, Mr. Jones. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, you've been charged in case 23 CR 0041116Y with public drunk and criminal trespass, and in case 23 CR 0041126Y with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Your Honor, the defendant does not have any prior adult arrests on file.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. For position 12, this incident occurred yesterday at 3515 Camp Creek Parkway, East Point at the U-Bar. On the above date, the defendant was a patron there. While there, he began to act in an aggressive manner towards the employees and the officers on scene. He used profane and vulgar language, calling several employees and officers, quote unquote, bitches and whores. The manager of U-Bar advised that the defendant has been trespassed from the property due to his behavior on that date. Fulton County Sheriff deputies gave him multiple chances to leave the premises. However, he continued to return and continued to use profane and vulgar language. For position 12, due to the alleged facts, our office is currently asking for a $1,000 surety bond for the public drunk, $1,000 for criminal trespass, for a total of $2,000. Stay away, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. For position 13, Your Honor, that incident occurred on February 15, 2023 at 3263 Donald Holloway Parkway, Northwest in Atlanta. On that date, the officers were dispatched to the location for a dispute with a weapon. Upon their arrival, they spoke to a store clerk. As that was a convenience store, the clerk informed the officers that while at the store, the defendant was at that location along with the victim, Ms. Armani Sherman. Ms. Sherman parked the car, came into the store to pay for gas, and she was crying. When she went back to the car, she shortly returned back inside, running to the back of the store, and the defendant followed her in, grabbed her, took her out the store, and began to try to force her into the backseat of the vehicle. When she did not want to get in, he pulled his firearm from his waist. He then got into the vehicle and left. Officers later made contact with the victim, who stated that they did get into an argument on that day. However, that day it went too far. The officers did observe bruises on her neck. And she informed the officers that occurred when the defendant grabbed her. Due to the fact that the allegations are violent, Your Honor, and a weapon was involved, our office is currently asking for a $7,500 surety bond. No further contact with the victim is Armani Sherman. Anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Ms. Kim, on position number 12, I'm going to give him a signature bond on those. You want to speak to position 13 for me?
Sure.
Can I say something?
No, sir, you can't. You're on mute, Ms. Kim.
Mr. Jones, please remain silent. I'll speak for you. Mr. Jones is 22 years old and they are still in a relationship. Armani Shaman and Mr. Jones, ever since that event, they still have a relationship together. They have a son together. The Warren actually says one daughter, but that's not correct. So Warren is not really correct. He is employed as a security officer at the works. He's been working there ever since from January 2023. After completing his associate degree for criminal justice, he chose to work because he really has to support his soon-to-be wife and newly born son. So we would like to request for a signature on bond so he can go back to work to support them financially. And also, Your Honor, this was the first event that ever happened, and it happened about 5 months ago. So there has been enough cooling off period there for them to have a no further violent contact. Thank you.
Have you spoken with Ms. Sherman, Ms. Kim?
No, I was not able to contact her.
Ms. Stafford, has your office spoken with Ms. Sherman?
No, Your Honor, we have not.
Okay. For position number 12, public drunk, it's going to be a $500 signature bond through the jail. For the criminal trespass, a $500 signature bond through the jail makes for a total of $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the U-bar, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. For position number 13, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge, 1-day anger awareness. And as you know, Ms. Kim, if no one has spoken with the alleged victim, there will be no further contact with Ms. Sherman at this point in time. Stay away from her residence. If the residence happens to be the same, then he can have a one-time escort with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. Third-party transfer of any minor children for visitation, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. So while you're out on bond, Mr. Jones, you're going to have to give up any weapons that you might have. If Ms. Sherman's comes before this court and desires a different outcome, of course, the bond can be modified at a later date. Any questions, Ms. Kim or Ms. Stafford?
Does anyone have Miss Armani Schuman's phone number? My client could not remember a number itself. So if victim advocate has it, I would love to have it through the chat.
Okay, if someone can get with Ms. Kim afterwards.
Yes.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Position 8, Denley.
Good afternoon, Mr. Denley. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Denley, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004136B with simple battery and cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
The defendant has 2 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was April the 25th, 2019 in Clayton County for a probation violation. The defendant does have 1 prior misdemeanor conviction that was in 2019 for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Yes, Ms. Eggers, Mr. Eggers.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir. This occurred yesterday, and 2 charges were brought. The incident location was 3725 Princeton Lakes Parkway, Atlanta. Mr. Denley, he got into an argument with the victim, Tynesha Birch. He struck her in the face and left a mark. This did occur in front of a child that they shared, was witnessed by the child. And for that reason, he does have he has a conditional discharge parole violation, but the state is asking for a $2,000 surety bond on the first charge, a $1,000 surety bond on the second charge. a no further contact with Miss Birch, a stay away from that incident location, an anger management course, a no alcohol, weapons, or drugs. And if the victim is on the line, we will sound for her at this time, Miss Birch.
So, Mr. Eggers, has your office spoken with Ms. Birch? While you look for that, Mr. Eggers, I'm going to go on to Ms. Wills. Ms. Wills.
Thank you, Judge. My client is 30 years old. He is a Georgia native. He is currently unemployed, but has a high school diploma. He has one two-year-old child that he shares with the alleged victim. My client states that this incident happened during them transferring the child after he had visitation, and it happened at his home where he lives with his mother. The alleged victim does not reside there. They are no longer in a relationship, and my client does not desire to have any further contact with the alleged victim. He actually would prefer to have third-party visitation to prevent any further altercations. He states on this day there was just a disagreement. As it was stated, he has very minor criminal history, one arrest. He's 30 years old, so I would request a signature on bond in line with all of those factors.
Anything further, Mr. Eggers?
Yes, Your Honor. My office reached out, but we are not able to contact the victim.
Okay, thank you. For the simple battery, it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. For the cruelty to children, $1,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Birch. A third-party transfer for visitation of the minor child, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Denley.
Thank you, Judge.
Welcome.
Position 2, Mr. Byrd.
Good afternoon, Mr. Byrd. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Sir.
Thank you. Mr. Byrd, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004128C with expired or no license plate or decal, giving false information to law enforcement, and driving while your license was suspended or revoked. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor, the defendant has 45 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was September the 21st, 2022, out of Beverly Hills, California, for a driving while license suspended or revoked. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does appear to have an outstanding hold out of Cobb County for larceny. The date on that warrant was November the 10th, 2022. And the defendant also appears to have an outstanding hold out of Freehold, New Jersey for a probation violation. The date on that warrant was July the 9th, 1999. And he does appear to have an outstanding hold out of West Palm Beach, Florida. It has something to do with bail. It just said a secure bond bail. The date on that warrant was June the 6th, 2016. He does have prior felony convictions. There's one in 2012 out of Maryland for fraud, and one in 1997 out of New Jersey for theft by receiving stolen property. And he has misdemeanor convictions. This one in 2010 out of Maryland for fraud, and an additional one in 2010 out of Pennsylvania for possession of controlled substance, and one in 2006 out of Pennsylvania for a DUI, and one in, I apologize for being out of order, Your Honor. It was one in 2008. It appears to be an out of Connecticut for credit card theft. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Byrd was stopped 2 days ago, July 1st. It occurred at the corner of Edgewood Avenue and Jesse Hill Jr. Drive in Atlanta. He was noticed to have an expired license plate. When he was stopped, he gave a false name Jason Dunlap, and then was also found to have a suspended driver's license. He is a multi-state offender, at least 7 jurisdictions, probably more. He's had 37 driver's license withdrawals on his record. He's not from Georgia. He's originally from Pennsylvania. And for those reasons, including his history that was alluded to, we're asking for $1,000 surety bond for each charge, for expired license, $1,000 for false information, and $1,000 for license suspended. And also no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and stay away from that location.
Ms. Wills, I'm going to release him to those holds. So for the no license plate or decal, $1,000 signature bond through the jail, giving false information, $1,000 signature bond through the jail, driving on a suspended or revoked license, a $3,000 signature bond through the jail, makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. Of course, no driving without a valid license, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you?
It does. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Byrd. Mr. Yancey. Mr. Yancey. Mr. Yancey, I know that this is not the most exciting court proceeding, but it still is a court proceeding. So I'm going to have you either stay awake for me or go off camera until the case that you're here for comes on. Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you. Who do we have in courtroom 2 now?
Position 4, Coates.
Good afternoon, Mr. Coates. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video? Thank you. Mr. Coates, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004131E with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant has 31 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was October the 23rd, 2022. With Marta Police Department for robbery by force and simple battery. The defendant does appear to have multiple open cases in DeKalb County. One is for violation of a family violence order, and there's one for 2 counts of simple battery and disorderly conduct, and there's another one for robbery by force. Also, he appears to have an outstanding hold out of Decatur, Georgia for a violation of the court order. The date on that warrant was December the 31st, 2022. He does have misdemeanor convictions. This one in 2014 out of Colquitt County, Georgia, for DUI and driving while license suspended or revoked. One in 2011 for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. One in 2008 for criminal trespassing. And one in 1999 for criminal trespassing and simple battery. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Mr. Evers?
Yes, Your Honor. The state brought a charge of battery family violence. The incident occurred June 30th. The location was 1295 Norman Berry Drive, East Point. Mr. Coates, he pushed and stomped the victim, Miss Patsina Moore, leaving bruises on her leg and a cut over her eye. He has a number of cycles, and he has an open robbery case. So for that reason, the state is asking for a $5,000 surety bond, a no further contact with the victim, a stay away from the incident location, anger management course, and a no alcohol, weapons, or drugs condition. And if Ms. Moore is on the line, we would sound for her at this time.
If you choose to. Doesn't appear so, Mr. Eggers. Ms. Wills?
Mr. Coates is 53 years old. He is a Georgia native. He is employed by First Step Temp Services. and he is a warehouse worker. He makes his income will qualify him to be represented by the public defender's office. He does not have any children who are under 18. He states that he lives, or not, I'm sorry, his name is on the lease of the alleged victim, and that he helped her get an apartment, but he does not live there. He states that as a result of the altercation, he was also injured and that law enforcement never took his statement or asked him or inquired about his injuries. I would request a signature on bond and allow Mr. Coates to be released to DeKalb County to handle his cases there. If your honor is not so inclined, I would ask that his bond not be greater than $500 as he cannot afford any bond. He states he does not need a law enforcement escort as he was no longer or was not living at the residence, and he does not desire to have any further contact with the alleged victim.
Contact with Ms. Moore, stay away from the Norman Berry Drive address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Coates.
Judge, would you repeat that bond amount? I didn't hear you.
3,000, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Position 3, Caraway.
Good afternoon, Mr. Caraway. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004130E with simple assault, family violence, and fleeing or attempting to elude law enforcement. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
The defendant has 3 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was January the 14th, 2021 in Columbus, Georgia for simple battery. That case appeared to be still pending. There are no convictions listed in the GCIC. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Mr. Eggers?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This incident occurred 2 days ago, July 1st. The state brought a charge of simple assault, family violence, and then also fleeing a police officer. It occurred at 4132 Serene Way, South Fulton. The victim's name is Mary Perez. Mr. Caraway was shown on camera physically threatening the victim. When police arrived, he was told to stop, stay in his place, but still fled the area on the basis of the second charge. He's fairly young, at 20 years old. The state is requesting $2,000 surety bond on the first charge, $1,000 surety on the second charge, the fleeing. No further contact with Ms. Perez, a stay away from that location, the incident location, an anger management course, and no alcohol, weapons, or guns.
Ms. Wells? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Eggers.
Well, yes, if Ms. Perez is on the line, we would sound for her.
If Ms. Mary Perez is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so.
No, I'm fine.
You would not like to address the court, Ms. Perez?
Yeah, I would just he's already gonna stay away from the home. That's all I needed.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Judge. As it was stated, my client is 19 years old. He states that he is currently employed by Amazon. He's worked there for the past few months. He does or will qualify for the public defender's office. He states that he's currently attending Atlanta Technical College to obtain his GED. He also is currently in the care, or he signed himself back into foster care. And so he says that he was living with Ms. Perez as an approved placement through the Department of Family and Children Services. He does not know his case manager's number, so I was not able to speak with him, but he states that his case manager's name is Mr. Dennis. My client indicates he does have somewhere else to go. He understands that he will not be returning to Mrs. Perez's home, and he does not desire to return to her home. He states that he has a cousin that he could live with, or his girlfriend. My client does state that Mrs. Perez was arrested previously last week for assaulting him, and that when she returned back to the home after being released, She instigated the incident. My client denies the allegations as alleged. In light of his age and his special circumstances, I would ask for a signature bond in this case.
For the simplest $2,000 signature bond, jail. $1,000 signature bond through the jail makes for a total of $1,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Ms. Perez. Stay away from 4132 Serene Way. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
And
Good luck to you.
What was that amount? I'm sorry.
2,000 for the simple assault, 1,000 for the fleeing, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through the jail.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck to you, Mr. Caraway.
Thank you.
Judge Morrow, you're going in and out a little bit, so.
Okay. I'll try to do better. Let me know if it continues.
Position number 25, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Mr. Williams, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004132E with possession of marijuana less than an ounce and tampering with evidence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Your Honor, the defendant does not have any prior arrests on file. The defendant appear to meet the criteria for a UJR through the jail. Nothing in addition.
Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant was pulled over, or actually was a passenger in a vehicle that was pulled over on Daring Drive. At the time of the stop, the defendant did throw a bag of marijuana out of the vehicle. The officer was able to recover that bag of marijuana. He was subsequently charged with marijuana less than an ounce and tampering with evidence. The state is asking for $1,000 surety on each count. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Given his history, Ms. McLeod, a $500 signature bond through the jail on each count makes a total of $1,000 signature bond through the jail. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Does that suit you?
It suits me, Your Honor.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Williams.
Judge Morrow, real quick, for the total amount for position 3, Mr. Caraway, the previous bond, was that a 3,000 SOB through the jail?
Let's see. Yes, it was 2 for the simple assault and 1 for the fleeing. So $3,000 signature bond through the jail in total.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Position 14, Mr. Mack.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mack. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Mack, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004117Y with simple assault. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
The defendant had 7 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was August the 15th, 2017 in Fulton County for driving while license suspended or revoked. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant did receive first offender treatment in 2002 out of DeKalb County for forgery in the first degree. The case was sealed October the 28th, 2022. And the defendant does have a misdemeanor conviction and a sentence. Sworn in 2015 out of Ohio for fraud. And the defendant received a nolo contendere sentence in 2012 out of Gwinnett County for driving while license suspended or revoked. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on July 1st at 942 Ashby Circle in Atlanta. Officers responded to that address regarding the physical dispute. When officers arrived, he observed the victim, Mr. Paul Yancey, on top of the defendant. The officer asked him to get off of the defendant, and the victim stated the victim was not, I apologize, Your Honor, the victim was not physically hitting the defendant, but was simply holding him down. Officer spoke to the defendant, who stated that he had came to the residence with his girlfriend. Miss Wakitia Yancey for her son's birthday party. He advised that there was an incident that occurred between his girlfriend and the victim, who is Miss Yancey's ex-husband. He stated that he asked the victim to step outside, and instead of stepping outside to speak to him, he knocked him down on the ground and began hitting him. However, when officers talked to the victim, Mr. Yancey, he told the officers that his wife did in fact stop by to drop off some gifts for their son, but he didn't say anything to her. He stated that the defendant did ask him to step outside, but once he got outside, he saw chrome brass knuckles in the defendant's hand. He swung a fist with the knuckles on and missed him because he ducked. At that point, the victim advised that he defended himself and hit the defendant. And once the defendant was on the ground, he got on top of him to hold him down until the officers arrived. Our office did, in fact, get in touch with the victim, who does appear to be here today, Your Honor, and at an appropriate time, we ask that you sound for the victim. He stated that he does not want to have any contact with the defendant, and he does plan on filing a TPO, and he would like for the defendant to stay away from the incident location. At this time, due to the fact that this just happened 2 days ago and there were kids in the area, our office is asking for a $5,000 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, stay away from 942 Ashby Circle, no further contact with the victim, Mr. Paul Yancey.
Okay, Mr. Yancey, if you'd like to address the court, I'll need for you to unmute yourself. And
Yes,
raise
how you
your right.
doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you. Can you raise your right hand for me?
I do.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Thank you, Mr. Yancey. What would you like to tell the court?
Your Honor, that Friday prior to this incident, it was my custodial weekend with the kids. I picked them up from a mutual location, which is 942 Ashby, which is my ex-wife's grandmother's house. I that Friday filed a contempt of our divorce order. And when I got there Friday and asked her why we couldn't, handle this and do what was said during our divorce proceedings without me having to spend this money versus spend it on my kids, she got irate. We exchanged some words. I did call her out her name. And she attempted to assault me. And I told her if she hit me, I would treat her like a trans man. My exact words. So she left. That Saturday was my son's birthday party. They were supposed to be with me, but to keep in fairness of my kids and the family that they're accustomed to seeing, I allowed them to stay with their grandmother. She used my 16-year-old daughter to locate us and then arrive with Mr. Mack. She had no idea where we were at. She did not drop any gifts off. She used my 16-year-old daughter to locate us. And they came with the intentions to do harm. She came in the residence. My kids were in the front room. She walked in, everyone spoke to her. She spoke to no one. She walked to the back, grabbed their bag, and walked out the front door. He said he would step out and sit on the porch. She simply did that to incite a riot. She grabbed their bags, walked out. I asked her, I said, "You're gonna take their clothes." She didn't respond. I said it again. I said, "Wakita, you're gonna take their clothes." She didn't respond. I said, "That's weak." When I said that's weak, Mr. Mack said, "I need you to step outside." Your Honor, I didn't create a problem, but I don't run from him. I stepped outside. He said, "I told you to keep my name out your mouth." He swung and missed, and I thoroughly defended myself. In the process, as I'm holding her down, he said, if he get up and can get to his gun, he's gonna shoot me. I asked the officers, it's on camera, did he have a gun on his person or in her car? I don't think they checked his car. Her car. At this point, Your Honor, Mr. Mack is not to come around me, nor my minor kid. I have a 3-year-old and a 9-year-old. And this was the 9-year-old's birthday party, and this is something that will forever be remembered. What him and Miss Yancey decides to do is okay with me as long as he has no contact with my kid. That is my only request. Miss Yancey, also on the police camera, picked up the brass knuckles and was going to go hide them in her car until I told the officer to grab the brass knuckles. And that's on camera also. That's on the officer's body cam. that she picked up and was attempting to tamper with evidence and take the brass knuckles out of sight. We got photos of the brass knuckles. My mom came out, everyone came out, and I was like, call the police. And, they were, of course, they were trying to get me off of them. I said, no, I would not get off of them until the police got there. And that's where the police found them.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Yancey. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. McLeod?
Your Honor, my client is 56 years old. As you've heard from pre-trial, he has absolutely no history of violence. He denies the allegations made in the warrant and also what is being stated by Mr. Yancey. And Your Honor, if you listen to Mr. Yancey's testimony, it is obvious that this is a disagreement between himself and his ex-wife. My client did not touch him at all. He claims that my client swung at him, which when the police came, even says that he was sitting on top of my client. There's no indication that my client did anything to him other than say, let's step outside. He himself testified that he sat on top of my client. He's maybe a good 100 pounds heavier than my client is. And this is what he did. So I would just ask the court to give my client a signature bond so he can get out of jail. This business of saying that he doesn't want my client around his children is essentially trying to interfere in the relationship between his ex-wife and my client, because they are her children. So in effect, if he can't be around the children, it's tantamount to saying he can't be around her because the children reside with her most of the time. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if I may.
Don't say anything.
So, Mr. Mack, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. So I think that Ms. McLeod is going to advise you that she'll speak with you after the hearing, but that your best interest might be not to incriminate yourself in any way. But I'll let you discuss that with Ms. McLeod if you like. Mr. Yancey, did you have something else that you'd like to address the court with?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Mack, my apologies to him because he's a pawn in this. And there's if you want a court number, I can actually give you the document that's the contempt. But there's a string of texts, and even when I was sitting on top of Mr. Mack, I said, dude, you're over here to defend her, and she has not showed you the text. And this is not the first incident, Your Honor. I can go back to a text message.
Okay, Mr. Yancey, you'll be able to litigate this at another time. Okay, this is just a bond. It's just a bond hearing today, and okay, so but you'll have your opportunity to litigate this at a later date. As for today, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Mr. Yancey. Stay away from the Ashby Circle address. I'm going to let.
He doesn't live there, Your Honor. He lives outside of Metro Atlanta in Winston, Georgia.
So he won't have any problem not going back to that Ashby Circle address. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. As far as the minor children go, Mr. Yancey, you all are going to have to deal with that with your divorce decree or
no, Your Honor,
manner.
Our divorce decree is final. But because this happened in front of my minor kids, there should be a non-contact to those minor kids, Your Honor. It happened in front of them. My parents picked those kids up. This child will never have another 9-year-old birthday.
Okay, so you're going to have to address that in front of another court, okay?
Not a problem, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further on Mr. Mack, Ms. McLeod, or Ms. Stafford?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, good luck to all of you, Mr. Mack and Mr. Yancey.
And Mr. Mack, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good rest of the day and a safe force tomorrow.
Thank you, Your Honor. Same to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Position 1, Mr. Beckham.
Ms. Beckham identifies as female.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. Good afternoon, Ms. Beckham. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video? Thank you. Ms. Beckham, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004127C with criminal trespass and damage to property and criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
The defendant has 20 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was May the 25th, 2023 in DeKalb County for criminal trespassing. The defendant appeared to have an additional open case pending in DeKalb County for 8 counts of financial transaction. Well, I apologize, that's in Fulton County. But 8 counts of financial transaction card theft. That case number is 22 CP 207705. Also, the defendant appeared to be on probation in Clayton County for identity theft fraud. That disposition date was October the 1st, 2020, and the term is for 5 years. The defendant does have misdemeanor sentences and convictions. The defendant received first offender treatment in 2018 for disorderly conduct, and the defendant received a nolo contendere sentence in 2013 for theft by taking. And there was an additional one in 2013 out of Gwinnett County for obstruction of an officer. And there was one in 2011 out of DeKalb County for theft by receiving stolen property. The defendant does appear to have I apologize. Yes, he does. The defendant appeared to have a history of probation violations. There were 2 in 2020, and 1 in 2012, and 1 in 2011. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Mr. Eggers?
Yes, thank you, sir. These 2 charges, criminal trespass plus damage to property, they stem out of events that happened 2 days ago, July 1st. The location was 324 8th Street, Northeast Atlanta. Miss Beckham was at the residence of the victim, Terry Mooger, without permission to be there. And it was found that damage had been done to both the front door and the back door. That's the basis of the damage to property, the second charge. Miss Beckham, has a number of cycles. She has open criminal trespass and that credit card theft, multiple credit card theft charges. So for that reason, the state is asking for $1,000 surety on the first charge, a $2,000 surety on the second, no further contact with the victim, and a stay away from the incident location.
Ms. Wells?
Ms. Beckham is 31 years old. She is a native of Georgia. She is currently unemployed, but does receive SSI for disability that she has. I would request a signature on bond. My client has no objection to staying away from the location, and she is currently unemployed and has very limited and set income. And if Your Honor is not so inclined, I would ask that you give her the lowest bond you are willing to grant.
Who is Terry Mooger to Ms. Beckham?
These are both unknown people to my client.
Okay, and is there an issue with housing, Ms. Wells?
No, Your Honor, I did speak with her and confirm her address in Stone Mountain.
All right. It's going to be a $500 good bond per charge, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. Stay away from 324 8th Street and the alleged victim, Terry Moogler. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Beckham.
You said 1,000 good bond?
That's correct.
You gotta pay attention. Position 7, Defontaine.
Good afternoon, Mr. Defontaine. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Your Honor.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004135G with simple assault. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
The defendant has 6 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was October the 16th, 2022 in Brookhaven, Georgia, for disorderly conduct. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does appear to have an open case pending in Cobb County for burglary and criminal damage to property in the 2nd degree and obstruction of an officer. And he does appear to have an outstanding hold out of Cobb County for a release violation. The date on that warrant was January the 12th, 2023. And he does have one misdemeanor conviction. It's in 2017 out of Milton, Georgia for a DUI. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Mr. Edgar?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This event occurred yesterday, July 2nd, at an apartment complex. The address is 297 East Paces Ferry, Atlanta. Mr. Maxwell confronted the victim, Miss Olivia Pizzini, in the lobby of the apartment complex, waving around a rifle. He made a slashing gesture to his neck, and she fled for fear of her life. When police arrived at the location, he was still passing back and forth with the rifle in his hands, and he did put it down when told to. But based on the severity and the menacing nature of this encounter, the state is, and also 7 arrests, the state is asking for a $10,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, a stay away from the incident location, an anger management course, and alcohol, drugs, and weapons program.
Ms. Wells?
Thank you, Judge. My client is 24 years old. He states that he does reside at that apartment complex, which is why he was outside with his rifle, which he lawfully owns and was carrying. He is currently unemployed, but reports he is a student at Georgia State University, majoring in finance. He will qualify to be represented by the Public Defender's Office. In speaking with him, he understands the severity of the situation. However, we would request that he not be determined or made to not return, as that is where he resides. He is not familiar with the alleged victim in this case at all. And so I would request a signature on bond. If Your Honor is not so inclined, I would ask that his bond not be greater than $500 for the simple assault. And I would like to note that once my client saw law enforcement, he voluntarily lowered his weapon and put it on the ground. He did not have to be asked to do so.
Where was this, do you know, or Ms. Jackson, do you know where the disorderly is pending? Is that open, and what about in the burglary?
The case that's pending in Cobb County, Your Honor, appear to be still pending.
Okay, both the disorderly and the burglary, criminal damage, the property?
The last arrest, yes, in Brookhaven, that appeared to be pending as well. And the open case is pending in Cobb County for burglary and criminal damage to property in the 2nd degree and obstruction of an officer.
Okay. Thank you. I was just inquiring, Mr. Edgars, because normally, in regards to any bonds, especially of that nature, there's a no drugs, alcohol, or weapons stipulation. And I'm just wondering if you know whether or not there was a stipulation regarding any firearms. But I take it that you don't know.
Yes, Your Honor, on the previous charges, I'm not sure, but if we need to add that, that definitely needs to be a part of this bond condition.
It's gonna be a $3,000 good bond, no further contact with Ms. Pizzini. I'm not gonna keep him from where he lives, but he's to, if she is living in this same apartment complex, then he is to stay away from her residence. And as a part of this bond, there will be no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. As such, Mr. Defontaine will have to relinquish any firearms that he has. Good luck to you, sir.
Can I say one thing? Or
Mr. Defontaine, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. Quite often, people think that it's going to help them, but you have solicitors here that are listening to everything you say and can use it against you. And I'm sure that Ms. Wills will contact you at a later point, but I'm sure that she would advise you that it's probably best that you not speak. But that's totally up to you whether or not you want to speak. Ms. Wills, would you like to address Mr. Defontaine?
Mr. Defontaine, unless you have a question about your bond, I don't recommend that you say anything.
okay. Well, I just one quick thing, and I have nothing else to say. It's just I wanted to let you know that the arrest out of Cobb County for burglary was my own address. You know, the address on my ID, and my mom is the one who was the victim who.
Okay. You don't need to say anything, Mr. Defontaine, about any open or pending charges. That's not in your best interest.
Okay.
All right, we're done. Position 19, Terrell.
Ms. Bowles. Yeah. Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Terrell. I'm Judge Eric Mara. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Terrell, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004122G with driving while your license was suspended or revoked, distracted driving, and failure to have a license on your person. Is there a history?
The defendant has 2 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was June 20th, 2023 in Cobb County for driving while license suspended or revoked. There was no disposition for that arrest. He does appear to have an outstanding hold out of Ashburn, Georgia for a failure to appear. The date on that warrant was September 20th, 2022, and he has one out of Naples, Florida for stalking. The date on that warrant was June 27th, 2023. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday on Piedmont near Fair Road. The defendant was seen driving a green Dodge Charger while using a cell phone by the officer. The officer initiated the traffic stop on that vehicle and made contact with the defendant. The defendant provided the officer with his name, but stated that he didn't have his license on him and produced a picture of the license. The officer ran his information through ACIC, and in return, defendant's license was suspended as well as the 2 warrants. Due to the fact that he has a recent arrest for driving while license suspended as recent as 2 weeks ago, as well as the fact that he has 2 open warrants, one of which, according to the warrant, Florida is looking to extradite. Our office is currently asking for a $3,000 surety bond for the driving on suspended, $1,000 for distracted driving, $500 for failure to produce a license, for a total of $4,500. No driving without a valid license, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
For the driving on suspended license, a $500 signature bond through the jail, distracted driving, $250 signature bond through the jail, failure to have license on person, $250 signature bond through the jail. Makes for a total of $1,000 signature bond through the jail. No driving, of course, unless you have a valid license, Mr. Terrell, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
All right, thank you.
Position 16, Mr. Perez Wallace.
I'm sorry, tell me again, please.
Position 16, Mr. Morez Wallace.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Morel Wallace. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 0041198 with battery family violence. Is there a history? Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Judge, he has 2 cycles. The last arrest was November the 15th, 2022 with the City of Atlanta Police Department for driving while license suspended or revoked. That case appeared to be still pending. There are no convictions listed in the GCIC, Your Honor. Nothing in addition.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on July 1st at 500 Northside Circle Northwest, apartment Q12 in Atlanta. Officers responded to that address for a domestic dispute call. Upon arrival, they met with the victim, Miss Nikisha Ellison, who stated that she had gotten into a physical dispute with the defendant. She stated that he had gotten home earlier that morning and saw her in the apartment, saw some of her spiritual practice items, and informed her that he didn't want to fight with her, so he left. He then returned a few hours later. While the victim was laying in bed, he told her to leave. He then grabbed her leg, drug her out of the bed, causing her to fall on the ground, and drug her across the apartment until she could brace herself with her other leg on the door frame to prevent herself from continuing being drugged. She then ran back into the room where he followed, and he began to punch her with a closed fist in her head and chest, and grabbed her around the neck. She sustained scratches on her legs, arms, neck, and a knot on her forehead. Due to the natures of these allegations, our office is currently asking for a $5,000 surety bond. Stay away from the incident location, no further contact, anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Morris Wallace is 29 years old. He was born in Panama, and yet he moved to New York, and he's been here in Georgia for about a year. He has self-employment company called Quality Roadside Tire and Rim Repair. He's been doing it for 1.5 years after he completed his GED. Your Honor, he's not going to be qualified for our public defender services. And this is his first battery offense. And we would like to request for a signature on bond. Even though that apartment is my client's place, my client has no objection to stay away or no further contact with Nikisha Ellison. There's no children involved in this relationship. Thanks.
It's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Ellison, stay away from the 500 Northside Circle address. He can go back there on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Position 18, Thomas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thomas. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, you've been charged in case 23 CR 0041218A with theft by taking and giving false information to law enforcement. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
The defendant has 17 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was September the 29th, 2022 in Fulton County for 7 counts of theft by taking and possession of tools for commission of a crime. That case appeared to be still pending. That case number is 22 CP 212833. And the defendant does appear to have an outstanding hold out of Shamley, Georgia, for a failure to appear. The date on that warrant is October the 12th, 2022. The defendant did receive first offender treatment in 2019 out of DeKalb County for theft by shoplifting. I apologize, Your Honor. That 2019 out of DeKalb County was just a felony conviction for theft by shoplifting. The defendant did receive first offender treatment in 2017 for robbery. That case was sealed December the 10th, 2022. And the defendant does have another felony conviction that was in 2018 for possession of cocaine. And he does have prior misdemeanor convictions, one in 2018 for theft by shoplifting, and one in 2017 out of Cobb County for forgery in the 4th degree, one in 2014 out of DeKalb County for theft by shoplifting, one in 2013 for a nolo contendere sentence out of Clayton County for criminal trespassing, and one in 2013 out of Cobb County for forgery in the 4th degree. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on July 1st, 2023 at 649 Techwood Drive Northwest in Atlanta. On that date, officers responded to the area in reference to a bike being stolen from that area. Officers received a description of the individual from dispatch. They then located the individual with the bicycle and detained him. While being detained, he made spontaneous statements that he didn't cut any locks and he just took the bike. Upon asking the defendant for his name, he stated that his name was Sean Michaels. Officers then confirmed the bicycle was theirs and that the defendant was the male on the camera seen removing the bicycle from the location. During a search of the defendant incident to arrest, officers located a Georgia ID, which came back to David Thomas. Due to the fact that the defendant currently has an open warrant, as well as several theft charges, our officers currently, including one being open at the time, our office is currently asking for a $7,000 surety bond. Stay away from 649 Techwood Drive, which is Georgia Tech campus, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
How is that broken down, Ms. Stafford?
Split, Your Honor.
You're asking for 7,000
total. So 3,500 for each, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Thomas is 45 years old and he has 6 children that he has to be responsible for. The youngest one is 10 years old. And Your Honor, after graduating from associate degree, he's working to support his family. And he has been here in Georgia from 2009. He has a solid address here in Georgia. He's eager to return back to work. Usually theft by taking, he gets signature on bond. And yet I do understand that there's a history. However, considering the fact that he has a hold in another county, it's going to be released to that place to be taking care of other more serious crimes. I would like to request for signature on bond for these petty crimes. Thanks.
$250 good bond per charge for a total of a $500 good bond. Stay away from Techwood Drive and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Thomas.
Position 24, Wilcox. That's $500.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wilcox. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video? Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004114Y with criminal trespass, theft by shoplifting, and public drunk. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant has 88 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was March 5th, 2023 with the City of Atlanta Police Department for criminal trespassing. There was no disposition for that arrest. He does appear to have an open case pending for 4 counts of criminal damage to property in the 2nd degree. That case number is 23 SC 185742. And he does have prior felony convictions. There was one in 2015 for robbery, and one in 2016 for Terroristic Threats Act, one in 2011 for possession of cocaine, one in 2010 for robbery and reckless conduct, a felony, one in 2006 for aggravated assault, and the defendant does have prior misdemeanor convictions. There was one in 2023 for theft by shoplifting, one in 2019 for disorderly conduct, additional one in 2019 for criminal trespassing. There was another one in 2019 out of Douglas County for criminal trespassing, one in 2014 for criminal trespassing, one in 2013 for simple battery, one in 2012 for criminal trespassing, one in 2011 for disorderly conduct, and one in 2010 for obstruction of an officer. Additional one in 2010 for simple battery, and one in 2009 for criminal trespassing. The defendant does appear to have a history of failure to appears. It's one in 2021, and one in 2019, and one in 2016. And he does have a history of probation violations. It's one in 2017, and there were two in 2015. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. In addition to the lengthy history stated by pretrial, I also have an additional 3 criminal trespass convictions since 2022. In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to the Shell gas station located at 556 Northside Drive in relation to the defendant shoplifting and passed out drunk at that location. He has previously been criminally trespassed from the Shell gas station. Based on the defendant's criminal history, the state is asking for a $1,500 surety bond on each count, a total $4,500 surety bond. Stay away from the incident location. Again, the Shell gas station at 556 Northside Drive, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Thank you, Ms. Kim.
Yes, Your Honor, my client, Mr. Wilcox, is 53 years old, and Your Honor, he has not had any employment for the last whole year. He does not have a telephone. So actually, we wanted to have a social worker to visit him before that hearing, but today no social worker is working because of July 4th holiday. So Mr. Derek Howard my supervisor went to the jail to meet him in person to verify his condition right now. He's currently living with a relative, so he does not need any more housing resources. He does not have mental health issues either. He has never been diagnosed with any MH issues, and he does have some challenges with alcohol. And yet, we would like to request for a signature on bond for his criminal trespass. I do understand 88 cycles is long, and yet there was no violence, nobody was hurt. We would like to request for a signature on bond. Thanks.
$500 good bond on each charge. Makes for a total of a $1,500 good bond. Stay away from the Shell gas station on 556 Northside Drive, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Wilcox.
Position 17, Rainwater.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rainwater. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Rainwater, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004120F with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, the defendant has 56 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was September the 19th, 2022 in Fulton County for public drunk and 4 counts of obstruction of an officer. That case appeared to be still pending, Your Honor. That case number is 22 CR 00635-1 and the letter F. And the defendant does appear to be on probation in Fulton County for possession of cocaine. That case number is 20 SC 174214. That disposition date was March 4th, 2022, and the term is for 2 years. The defendant appeared to have an additional open probation case in Fulton County for a misdemeanor for simple battery and theft by shoplifting and obstructing an officer. That case number is 22 CR 00472-5 in the letter F. That disposition date was August 4, 2022, and the term is for 12 months. And he does appear to be on probation in Hateville, Georgia, for theft by shoplifting. That disposition date was January the 30th, 2023, and the term is for 12 months. The defendant does have prior felony convictions. It's one in 2006 in Newton County, Georgia, for possession of controlled substance and theft by receiving stolen property. There was one in 2005 for possession of controlled substance. The defendant does have prior misdemeanor convictions. It's one in 2019 for driving while licensed, driving without a valid license, and a DUI. There's one in 2015 for driving without a valid license. There's one in 2016 for fleeing or attempting to elude an officer. There's one in 2006 for obstruction of an officer, and one in 2004 for simple battery. The defendant does appear to have a history of failure to appear. It's one in 2022, one in 2019. Also, the defendant appeared to have a history of probation violations. It's one in 2022, one in 2020, one in 2016, and one in 2015. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Catherine?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred on February 28th, 2023 at 4300 Northside Parkway, Northwest in Atlanta, which is a Southern Wines and Spirits store. Officers were dispatched to that location in response to a shoplifter call. When they arrived, they met with the store owner who stated that a black male entered the store and asked where a product was located. She then escorted him to that product. He purchased the product, and on his way out the door, he grabbed a bottle of alcohol valuing $39.99 and walked out. She stated that her and her employees followed him, telling him to return the item or pay for it. She stated he then told her he would shoot her, but never brandished a weapon. She was able to write down his license plate number before he left the parking lot, and she informed the officers that the card he used for the transaction belonged to the defendant, Mr. Daylon Rainwater. While investigators, officers located the defendant through ACIC, and they returned to the store, viewed the video, and were able to identify him based off the information they found on ACIC and the video. Due to the fact that the defendant has multiple arrests and convictions involving thefts, with the most recent conviction for theft or shoplifting in 2020 and 2022, as well as being on probation in multiple different counties and having multiple FTAs, as well as an open case, our office is currently asking for a $5,000 surety bond. Stay away from the incident location, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
So you're telling me he purchased some alcohol with his own credit card legally, and then allegedly took another bottle of alcohol as he was leaving?
Yes, Your Honor, according to the warrant, yes.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client, Mr. Rainwater, is 45 years old. He was born and raised here in Georgia, Your Honor. He has not had any job, any employment for about 2 months. That's what he says. He graduated from high school, and he does acknowledge that he wants to have help for his substance abuse issue. And Derek Howard has had a chance to meet him in person. At this point, there's no need for MH eval at this point. And he's actually held a felony charge as well. So even though he gets a signature on bond for this misdemeanor, he will not be able to go anywhere because of his felony charges, Your Honor. So we would like to request for a signature on bond for this theft by shoplifting, $39.99. He will be released to, even after the felony court, he will be released to Hateville county for another charge as well. So I request for signature on bond. Thank you.
Ms. Kim, I'm gonna give him a $1,000 good bond, since he's gonna be in custody anyway. That'll put him on our SAP calendar for July 18th. So $1,000 good bond, stay away from the Southern Wine Store and on Northside Parkway, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay, and I'll see him back if he doesn't get out on July 18th. Okay,
Position 15, Mr. Morris.
good afternoon, Mr. Morris. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Morris, you've been charged in case 23 CR 001118D with possession and use of drug-related objects and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
The defendant has a total of 21 cycles. There were 17 cycles that are adult arrests. The defendant's last arrest was April the 3rd, 2022 in Fulton County for aggravated assault. There is no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does have prior felony convictions. And there was one in 2020 out of Florida for grand theft and fraud. And there was one in 2013 out of Florida for cruelty to children. One in 2012 out of Florida for aggravated battery. And he does have misdemeanor convictions. This one in 2018 out of Florida for criminal trespassing and battery. And one in 2017 out of Texas for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred yesterday at 235 Peachtree Street Southwest, which is a MARTA station. MARTA officers observed the defendant sitting on a lower level. As they approached the officer to advise him he couldn't sit there unless he was intending to use any services, an officer saw a clear bag that contained a green leafy substance that they believed to be marijuana in plain view. Upon seeing that bag, the officer advised the defendant to stand in an attempt to detain him. When the defendant stood up, the officers observed a clear glass-like cylinder object that it contained burnt wool on him. Officers then grabbed the defendant in order to detain him by his right arm and wrist while giving him verbal directives to put his hands behind his back. The defendant then snatched away from the officer and attempted to flee from the officer. Once the officer caught up to him, he took him to the ground and straddled him until other officers arrived to arrest him. Due to the fact that this incident occurred in the public, as well as he is a multi-state offender with various violent offenses. At this time, the state is asking for a $2,000 surety bond for possession of drug-related objects, $2,000 for willful obstruction. We did NOD the marijuana charge, Your Honor. So we are asking for a total of $4,000 of a surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapon, and to stay away from that MARTA location. And in fact, Your Honor, there is currently a 365-day suspension in place.
Okay, okay with you, Ms. Kim, for the possession and use, $1,000 signature bond through the jail. For the obstruction, $1,000 signature bond through the jail, makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Abide by any active MARTA suspensions, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Is that fine with you, Ms. Kim?
So you're. Only thing is that, may I please have a copy of NOD for marijuana charge?
Yes, I will email it to you.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, Mr. Morris.
Go to the room down the hall, to the other rooms, and do more, and the judge comes on and makes them. Judge, we're actually completed here. The contact on the other, have a seat.
Yep, I do have.
Are we going somewhere else? What's position number 5?
For position number 5.
I waived his appearance. So myself and Ms. Kim have a few waivers.
And I
Okay.
believe also for position number, I believe it's 21.
21, Upshaw,
Yes, I
Yes.
believe he waived his
22.
appearance as well.
Yes.
okay. And those are the only two that are left. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow.
Oh, so you will be here tomorrow, Judge?
I will be here tomorrow, same time, same
Awesome.
place.
Sounds good.
Okay,
All
have a
right.
good evening. All
Thank
right.
you. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so position number 5 is a waiver, Hoppinger criminal trespass. Is there a history on that, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant has 12 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was December the 22nd, 2022 in Akron, Ohio for disorderly conduct. The defendant appeared to be on probation in Akron, Ohio for criminal mischief. The date on that warrant, that disposition date, I apologize, Your Honor, was January the 10th, 2023. And the term is for 365 days. The defendant does have prior felony convictions. They are all out of Ohio, one in 2009 for forgery, one in 2008 for possession of cocaine, and one in 2000 for trafficking cocaine. And he does have misdemeanor convictions. So one in 2020 out of Ohio for criminal trespassing, and one in 2004 out of Ohio for criminal trespassing. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, law enforcement was dispatched to 191 Peachtree Street. They spoke with a security guard at that location who advised that the defendant had no business at that location. He refused to leave the property upon request. At that time, he was arrested and taken into custody for criminal trespass. The state is asked for $1,000 surety bond, a stay away from 191 Peachtree Street, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Is that a business? One night is.
I believe it's the Commerce Club, but let me Google it right now.
You have a problem with housing, Ms. Wells?
He does, and Mr. Howard had the opportunity to speak with him as well. He is residentially challenged, and he did indicate that he has previously suffered a traumatic brain injury. He's borderline as far as whether or not he needs an evaluation. Mr. Howard would request that he be put on a competency calendar to have him further evaluated to determine his needs, and he's also going to work with the social workers in our office to develop a plan with him.
Okay, so we'll go with the $1,000 good bond, Mr. Walker. And place him on the next competency calendar. Do we know when that is, Ms. Bridgewater or Ms. Lewis?
1 second, Judge.
Okay. And
It'll be
we'll have
2 weeks from the Thursday calendar. But now it's my understanding that they have to go on the SAP calendar before they can go on that competency calendar unless, no? Okay, well, it'll be 2 weeks from, it'll be the 20th of July then.
Thank you.
20, the stay away from the 191 Peachtree Street, drugs, alcohol, weapons, and competency calendar, and a social worker visit. Okay, thank you, Ms.
That
Wells.
building, there's several businesses there, but most commonly known as the Commerce Club.
Okay, so it's, all right, thank you, Mr. Walker. And so finally, Mr. Upshaw, is there a history for positions 21 and 22, Mr. Upshaw?
Defendant has 7 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was April the 7th, 2023 in Forsyth County, Georgia for a probation violation. He does appear to be on probation in Forsyth County for 2 counts of felony theft by shoplifting. That disposition date was February the 16th, 2022, and the term is for 7 years. He does have an outstanding holdout of Cumming, Georgia for a probation violation. The date on that warrant is June the 30th of 2023. And the defendant does have a prior felony conviction that was in 2019 out of Cobb County for possession of Schedule I controlled substance. And he does appear to have a prior misdemeanor conviction that was in 2022 out of Cobb County for theft by shoplifting. And he does appear to have a history of probation violations one in 2023, one in 2022, and one in 2021. Nothing on addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. For position 21, this incident occurred on June 30th, 2023 at 9955 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell. That is the Studio 6 motel. Officers were dispatched to that location for a trespassing call. When they arrived, they made contact with the defendant as he was leaving the property. Hotel staff informed officers that they observed the defendant consuming drugs in a vacant room prior to calling 911. The defendant had previously been trespassed from that location. While they spoke to the defendant, he admitted to taking signal, and he had signs of being intoxicated, including bloodshot, watery eyes, and he was sweating heavily. The defendant at one point agreed to go to the hospital, but he later resisted from being placed into the ambulance and pulled away from the officers and attempted to flee as they attempted to place him in a patrol vehicle. For these reasons, the fact that he currently has a probation violation hold and is currently on probation in another county, the state is currently asking that the bond that he currently has in place remain the same, which is $2,500 for each count for a $5,000 total. ADET, stay away from that location, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. For position 22, this incident occurred on July 1st at 3:12 a.m. at 685 Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell, which is a Shell gas station. Officers were dispatched to that location in reference to an audible alarm. Dispatch advised that the alarm is coming from the front glass door. Officers advised the officer responding to that incident that they had the defendant in the parking lot and he appeared to be intoxicated. When given directives, the defendant attempted to turn away from the officers. Therefore, the officers attempted to detain him. While attempting to detain him, he did resist and attempted to pull his arms away from the officers. When the officers observed the front door of the gas station, a fire extinguisher was laying on the ground near the front door. The glass was not broken, but it did appear to be that there was an attempt to break into the door using that fire extinguisher. When a key holder arrived, the officers watched the surveillance video and observed the defendant pick up the fire extinguisher and throw it at the front door. While attempting to place the defendant in a patrol car, and the defendant headbutted an officer. Due to these allegations, the state is currently asking for the $5,000 surety bond that is currently in place for the simple battery to a police officer remain the same. $2,000 surety bond for criminal trespass and $1,500 for willful obstruction for a total of $8,500, and to stay away from that location.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Upshaw is right now qualified for public defender services because he has not been able to have any employment for many years because of his issue. He has been here in Georgia ever since 2007. He does have a solid address at Dallas, Georgia. He's not a residentially challenged. He understands that he needs some rehabilitation. So he would like to seek some help. We would like to request for a signature on bond for every cases. However, we ask for the lowest bond possible because even $1,000 good bond, he's not going to be able to pay for it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Section 21 for the criminal trespass, a $500 good bond. The obstruction, a $500 good bond, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. Stay away from the Old Dogwood Road address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. For position 22, criminal trespass, a $500 good bond. Obstruction, a $500 good bond. Simple battery, $1,000 good bond, makes for a $2,000 good bond. Stay away from the Shell gas station on Holcomb Bridge Road, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And I believe that completes the calendar for today. Ms. Bridgewater, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready, Judge. I'm ready.
Thank you.
Okay, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is July the 18th. And I sat there and said I'm ready and didn't even put down position number 1. How about that?
Do you want me to give it to you?
Give it to me, Judge. Give it to me.
It's $1,000 good bond.
Okay. Is that 500 on each? I can look back through my paperwork, but if you have it.
Yes, 500 each. Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right, then position number 2 is reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through the jail. Position 3 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through the jail. Position 4 is going to the SAP calendar with a $3,000 good bond. Position 5 is going to the competency calendar, which is slated for July 20th with a $1,000 good bond. Position 6 is reset further notice with a total $750 SOB through the jail. Position 7 is going to the SAP calendar with a $3,000 good bond. 8, reset further notice with a $3,000 total SOB through the jail. Position 9, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 10, SAP calendar with a total $3,500 good bond. 11 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through the jail. Position 12, reset further notice with a total $1,000 SOB through the jail. Position 13 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 14 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through the jail. Position 15 is reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through the jail. 16 is reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. 17 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 18 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $500 good bond. Position 19 reset further notice with a total $1,000 SOB through the jail. Position 20 reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. And I'm assuming that's per judge. Position 21 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 total good bond. Position 22 reset to the SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. 23 is reset further notice with a total $1,000 SOB through the jail. 24 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,500 good bond. And position 25 is reset further notice with a total $1,000 SOB through the jail. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise? No? Awesome. Okay.
You have a good rest of your day. Who's with me tomorrow? Anyone?
I am.
Okay.
Everybody have a safe and happy 4th, okay?
Thank you.
Yes. All
All
right.
right.
as well.
All right.
See you all
Thank
later.
you. All right. Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow, Ms. Bridgewater. And
Yes, sir.
I'll get those back to you as soon as you get them to me.